Good afternoon and welcome to the Spicemas Media Launch for 2022. I am your chairperson, Oslin Crosby, and also Deputy Chair of the Spicemas Corporation. It is a pleasure to do this today. It is exciting for us. After 2 years of a break, the return, I'm sure it was going to be one to look forward to. Before we do anything else, we always try to welcome or invite God's presence before we even say anything else. And I don't want us to break from that tradition here in Grenada. So I would just ask those who are present, members of the media, to just stand and bow with me as we just invite God's presence this afternoon. Merciful Father, we thank you for this day. We ask that as we unveil the events of our national cultural event, that you would guide and protect and always be at the helm of what we do. Always inspire, always give us ideas, and always ways to improve what we do have as a product and to build on it. After 2 years, we are grateful to just be around, to start planning, not yet executing, as we will do so later, but that you would grant us that, the life, the opportunity to do this when that time come around. This we ask in your name. Amen. So now we say thank you to all those joining us live on various platforms. We are doing this via GIS television. We know also that it's coming live on Power FM, also on our Facebook page or various media platforms. And to all joining us, we say thank you so much for doing so today. It is a pleasure. We are happy to have you. And to bring us welcoming remarks, I invite our CEO, Mr. Kelvin Jacob.
Thank you, Director Crosby. I stand on the protocol already established. Good afternoon, all. Thank you for being with us today in person and via virtual medium, all virtual media platforms, locally, regionally, and internationally. I am Kelvin Jacob, CEO of Spicemas Corporation. On behalf of the Board of Directors and staff of Spicemas Corporation, I sincerely acknowledge your presence and welcome you to our media launch of Spicemas 2022. We know that since the announcement that Spicemas will happen in 2022, you have been waiting in high anticipation for details on how the activities for Spicemas will be executed. We worked long hours and very hard to bring Spicemas back to you. And today, we are happy and excited to share our plans with you. So, the wait is over, and you are in the right place to hear all about Spicemas firsthand. Ladies and gentlemen, carnival practitioners, artists, masqueraders, steel band players, and supporters of Spicemas, thank you for your time, and welcome to the media launch of Spicemas 2022. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Jacob. As they entered, I think it's time for me to acknowledge their presence. Without our corporate entities supporting what we do, we will not be able to have a national event. Working in Spicemas, I know this and how important you all are. And I want to recognize some of our long-standing supporters that are here with us. I am seeing Clark's Court here. I see Cook. Clark's Court. I also see Carib, the Buries here. Mr. Richard Strawn, Netherlands, long-serving partner of SMC. Power FM is also representing Denise and her team. We have one of our mass bands represented, not local, but I think it's now he can be called that. IMG, Anton and the team out there from Trinidad is also here. We have members of the media here. We have Glenegg. Glenegg is always also one of our long-standing sponsors. I see the head of the institution and another member here, and supported by members of the media. And let us not forget our partner, our sister institution, the Grenada Cultural Foundation, is represented also by the CEO. So all who are here, we say thank you so much for being here today to be a part of this momentous occasion. It is a beautiful day for us. It is a big one. And now I am overjoyed and, of course, with pleasure to invite our chairman, Ambassador Ali Gill, to present what we are offering, or rather proposing, for 2022, Spicemas 2022. Ambassador Gill.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chairlady of the Spicemas Corporation and Chairperson for today's proceedings. And how elated we are to see so many persons out here and with us this afternoon. I am not one to begin by saying protocols are already established. But indeed, this afternoon, you would pardon me if I did not again re-emphasize and wholeheartedly thank our corporate partners once again for being with us. We appreciate it so much. And in the person of Coxita Hall, I don't only see a corporate partner. I see a former CEO of Spicemas and a cultural practitioner. Show to his Lexon Medford. And it would be remiss of me if I didn't single out one of my greatest allies in culture, Sir Richard Strawn. He's many occasions my sounding board on a lot of ideas and initiatives. Persons don't know that. But we go back and forth all the time on the telephone. And of course, we are honored to have the CEO of the GTA, Ms. Roach, who, Richard, she hasn't replaced you yet, but she's a great ally for Spicemas and for culture. Ladies and gentlemen, our theme for Carnival 2022, Spicemas, the return, a celebration of life. We say the return because we didn't have Mass for 2 years. And we say a celebration of life because we know what we have been through for 2 years. And in many respects, we are glad to be here, appreciating and acknowledging that over 200 of our fellow men and women and children is not with us. So we believe it's a fitting celebration, not just of culture, but of life and who we are as a people. So that is our theme going forward. And what I propose to do is to share with you some ideas, some initiatives. And just to set the tapestry going forward. We are still in the pandemic. We still wear masks, sanitize, and so on and so forth. Maybe we are in the tail end of the pandemic, but we still have COVID protocols in place. So basically, ladies and gentlemen, what we are presenting to you is Plan A, the plan for Carnival in the pandemic. And I will explain as I go further. We arrived here this afternoon on the heels 2 weeks ago. The minister, the Honorable Mrs. Yolande Bain Hosford, announced that we are having Spicemas 2022. Today, as you very well appreciate, is Cabinet Day, and as such, she's otherwise engaged. She did make the announcement that we would have had this press conference last week, but circumstances beyond our control were here on the very first day available to us after last week. So we are under her auspices, and Minister Yolande Bain Hosford has been a great support and has offered us guidance and tremendous support for us to be here. We have met with Cabinet twice in the last 2 months, since January. We have met with the Royal Grenada Police Force. We have met with the Chief Medical Officer. We've met with the Minister of Health and the Health team. We've met with civil society, conference at churches, trade unions, other interest groups, NGOs, civil society. We have met with the National Democratic Congress, the main opposition political party. We have sought out other political parties. Some don't have numbers, some don't have headquarters. But we've tried. And then we met with the National Tripartite Committee to share with them what we had in store for Carnival 2022. Also, Carnival stakeholders, Masspan and Calypso, sit as directors on the Spicemas board. And as such, they have an automatic place on the table. And allow me, before going forward, Director Edwards is representative of Mass on the board. But we've also met with the parish committees and so on. So we've had a wide and broad-based consultation to bring us here this afternoon. And we thought it important to do that because of the COVID situation in particular, and to share how best we can minimize the risk. Because there's still a risk. Until the Minister of Health, the Ministry of Health, and the government of Grenada say, we have no more risk, then, but there's still a risk. And we have to appreciate that the Spicemas Corporation is a state corporation. We surveyed the world to see what was happening with regards to Carnival. And we know Miami went late last year. St. Kitts went in December. Trinidad had what they refer to as a taste of Carnival. St. Lucia has announced that they are having Carnival, so too St. Martin, St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And we know that even if we one nation, 3 islands, we had 2 carnivals. And the island of Carriacou has produced, not too long ago, give us a taste of Carnival. And we shared with Cabinet, and we say to us that it's important for us to have Carnival in 2022. And these are some of the objectives that we wanted to share. We need to preserve and protect and promote the Spicemas brand. We saw that as absolutely important and critical going forward. I remember late last year, phone ringing off the hook, radio calling programs, people concerned, they hear Trinidad having something in August. Since the invasion in 1983, I never see Grenadians get nervous. And in a manner of speaking, we have the considered view that if you continue to let August remains and we ain't do anything, you're basically providing opportunities for other countries and so on to do events and to take root. So that it is important for us, was important for us, to have Carnival so that we lock down our space. And the Spicemas brand, the spacing, the timing, we're given that and we protect and preserve that. Of course, to create a platform for the Carnival arts and the preservation and promotion of Grenada's culture during this pandemic, to enable economic benefits for Carnival arts practitioners. You don't have to be in Carnival to know that persons involved in Carnival derive tremendous revenue out of Carnival. The soca artists, the mass bands, steel band players, the vendors, the bars, the restaurants, the taxi drivers, the airport, you name it. JetBlue, all part of the Carnival economy. And as such, you know, it stimulates the economic activity in the country. In 2010, 2011, or thereabouts, we did an economic assessment of Carnival. Dr. Keith Nurse, who is now the principal of the Sir Otto Lewis College in St. Lucia, he headed that. And even in a incomplete survey, he was able to derive a figure of around $22 million economic impact of Grenada Carnival in the economy. And we're talking about a decade ago. And we know that Carnival has grown in Grenada 10 years on. So it is reasonable to argue that Carnival is maybe close to the $40 million, if not $50 million mark with all of the advent in especially social media and so on. And one do not have to, you see the economic activities in Carnival, and so it is extremely important. And also to enhance the psychological and social benefits of the Grenadian citizenry. We have the considered view, and everyone here knows it, Grenadians waiting to exhale. You don't have to check Jude Cowpen, Carriacou Carnival, whether they have some little activity done by Uncle Carl, by Fox in there. Grenadians are waiting to exhale. After 2 years of lockdown, you get the sense that people want to play mass and sing a song. Now, in preparation for Carnival, we at the SMC already embarked on our own annual vaccination campaign, where we have soca artists, calypsonians, people in the fancy bands, traditional bands, pan men and women, people who play jab, vendors, and other local influencers to encourage persons to vaccinate. Vaccination is important for us because St. Kitts at the Carnival, whatever, over 80% of the population vaccinated. It's extremely important. And we know and we appreciate that vaccination reduces the risk of hospitalization and death. And as such, it gives us a stronger bargaining power to open up the Carnival and loosen up the restrictions and so on if more persons are vaccinated. So it is in Carnival benefit too. Of course, the first benefit in vaccination is to protect your health and life and that of your family and friends and so on. But it also aids us in putting on Carnival by more Grenadian nationals, more Grenadians in the diaspora and so on being vaccinated. It makes it a safer environment in the COVID and in the pandemic environment. And we have started that. Yes. What we have done too, as I said earlier, we established partnerships. We take all directions with regards to health matters from the Minister of Health, the Ministry of Health, and the Chief Medical Officer. We are not doctors. We are not experts on pandemic. So we give way to who know better than us on these matters. So they guide us with regards to that. On security issues, the Commissioner of Police and his men and women, they will tell us what we should or what we can and cannot do for Carnival. We are not security experts. And that is why it is extremely important that going forward, we will do all in our powers to ensure that the SMC, the Ministry of Health, the Royal Grenada Police Force, we sing from the same hymn sheet. We sing in the same song. Anything here the Minister of Health says on the issue of health, he has sway. And the chairman and the CEO of Spicemas follows accordingly. So too on security issues. We make absolutely no apology for it, but there's no other way for us to work if we are singing from different hymn sheet. We also appreciate that the COVID situation, as everyone knows, is very fluid. Today good, tomorrow it can be bad. So that we cannot be here in March and know what the situation will be in July or August. That's just the practical reality of it. So we rely on the Ministry of Health for testing and vaccination centers and so on and so forth. Let me explain a little bit. And also, too, we have indicated to the Royal Grenada Police Force that high percentage of vaccinated police officers is a very good asset to have in Carnival. Learning from what we have seen and what we have heard in other carnivals. In other words, if we say only vaccinated persons in the venue, you can't say the security guards are vaccinated. Same hymn again, same way in which we need to work. So Carnival, what we are saying, all of our shows to be held with a mixture of pay-per-view and in-person attendance. Calypso tents, semi-finals for competitions, finals for competitions. Pay-per-view, and what this allows us to do, the pandemic has taught us certain lessons, you know. We've had pay-per-view events years ago in Spicemas. I don't know if it had tailed off a bit and so on. But the technology has improved, and we are now using a strong, in every facet of life now is Zoom meetings and so on. We believe we can rely on the technology. So for the very first time, pandemic or no pandemic, all our Calypso tents will be streamed live, and you can access it in the diaspora and so on. And that, I hope, will be with us forever, pandemic or no pandemic. So when I get down to what I refer to as structural changes, that is one we can highlight early, in that for the very first time, Calypso tents, we will be embarking on that platform, basically. Semifinals, competitions, finals for competitions, mixture of in-person and pay-per-view. We established, as I said, we're planning for carnival in the pandemic. Sanitizing stations, mask policy. Once there is a national mask policy, we'll have a mask policy. I mean, we are aware that other countries, the countries and so on, already start weighing on these issues, adopting no mask policy, and so on. We are aware and we will remain on the cutting edge of that, don't worry. In other words, but we must take the cue from the national policy. And our policy with regards to establishing bubbles for the carnival is that everyone entering the venue must be vaccinated. Not just patrons. The sound system people, the production people, the vendors, the competitors, the judges, the police officers. That is what we are asking. You have your vaccination card, bingo, you're in the show. But we do not want to create a system where only patrons. So Calypsonians, soca artists, you know, to enter our competition as of now, you must be vaccinated. And you have adequate notice. So please, if that is a policy in July and August, don't raise the flag and say, well, I'm out of the competition because I'm not vaccinated. You have sufficient notice. So if it is like a famous tennis player, world #1, you want to play in the Australian Open, and Soca Monarch is like the Australian Open, you know you have to be vaccinated. You have enough time to vaccinate. And that is why we sort of push the button hard and early so that we could come to the nation and give persons sufficient time to prepare. That's one of the reasons we have done that, so that we have time, we have early notice going forward. So persons cannot plead ignorance when, and they must know the policy from now. Let me make a special plug here for the sponsors. Because without the sponsors, Spicemas will never be the same. All right? So that the partnership with our corporate sponsors, our corporate partners, must be highlighted. We've had a retreat. Spicemas had a retreat early in January, and that was fully sponsored by our corporate sponsors. So that we're not simply looking for partnerships just to put on events and to put on shows, but we're also looking for partnerships in development areas. Because if we develop the product, what we eventually put on the stage and showcase to the world will be a much better quality product, right? And our partners have been with us in the pandemic, and we want to continue. We know who our major sponsors are, but we say to sponsors who are wondering whether or not they should be involved with Spicemas, well, we now say that we're open for business. And that all persons or companies interested in being partnering with us, we say to you now that you can send us a sponsorship proposal. We're going to you as well, but you don't have to wait for us to come. You can write us a nice letter and put some goodies in it and say to us, let's have a conversation. And our team is ready. We already established our team with regards to our sponsors. And we will have different tiers of sponsorship, of course, platinum, gold, silver, bronze. So we aren't just looking for the big corporate people, but we believe that small companies, individuals, and so on can play a role. Because Carnival remains a national event. Carnival greatest, Spicemas is greatest Carnival. So our biggest tourism product. And we each have a part to play. Does that sound familiar? Very important as well, this year going forward, we follow the tendering process. And for 2022 and beyond, the SMC will work closely with the procurement unit in the Ministry of Finance to get support in ensuring that the process of awarding contracts for Spicemas is done in a transparent way. It's very important. As a state corporation, we have to follow the rules of a national engagement. It's very important. So that is why I said to you, we have to do what needs to be done to ensure that we comply with all the rules and regulations. And very soon, the list of services for tendering will be published. Look out for that in the coming weeks, if not by next week. Now, what I will refer to next is what I refer to as COVID-inspired changes. Yes? In other words, the following rules, guidelines of engagement is really and truly inspired by COVID. And we have in fancy mass. It's just that this year take a little different twist and a little different turn. We're not having no competition. Primarily because the Greater Mass Band Association, we don't have enough time to really compete. You're talking all of the logistics to get the raw materials, design the costumes, to market, to build the costumes is just a lot. And then say you go into a competition. So they have come up with this concept, and we believe that it will showcase Grenada in a really beautiful way. So we want to create a bubble as well for the Parade of the Bands. And through the GMBA, we have a vaccination policy as well. So we're relying on the credibility and so on of the mass bands with regards to vaccination. And the GMBA is, and Ms. Director Edwards will expound on it a little bit later. We'll have one theme with each participating mass band producing a section using the theme. Yeah? So that's why we said the bands will not be competing among themselves this year. We'll have a massive parade with one theme and so on. It's a fun parade, in essence, a frolic. It's a parade basically where you exhale, because nobody losing, nobody winning. Just have fun. And similarly with the traditional mass bands, we know the challenge, and we are not deaf to the low vaccination rate. Yes, we know the reality. Because we are doing other things, and we are experiencing difficulties in terms of getting traditional mass players and so on with a shortening and a vehicle and so on to vaccinate. So we are aware of it because we are doing other things. GTA, we're doing a nice mini carnival for cricket so the world could see us. So we're in the process of working with the vehicle and the shortening and so on and so forth, and we know the challenges. But we believe that the national policy of vaccination, at the end of the day, holds true for all of us with regards to our activities. And so we want to create a parade of the bands on Carnival Tuesday to take place in a bubble route. And we'll get to it. We'll explain the route in a while. Similarly, Panorama. We'll have Panorama as normal. And we believe that the steel bands and the steel band organization, which is a very strong organization, can deliver for us a panorama like no other with their steel band players vaccinated. And Panorama 2 will take place in a bubble. Just like the semi-finals and the finals of the competitions, persons in the production, in the song, in the judging, and so on, have to be vaccinated. Now, this is the proposed route for the Monday night parade and the Tuesday parade of the bands in St. George's. We propose to use the Tantin, Old Trafford, Bonds Point, Port Highway, Reno, Tantin, Ring Road. We believe that's a lot of road to run. So basically, you go on the Port Highway, you go up by where the old cinema was, by the gas station, across Anglican High School, Old Trafford, come around Burns Point, and back across on the Port Highway. In the middle of that, Tantin playing field, we'll cross the stage there. And you have Old Trafford, where persons can prepare and so on. So we believe that area, that environment, and we've spoken with the police. Police is very much a part of that because ACP Mitchell sits on our board. We believe that area affords the security forces control in terms of blocking off the entry, the roads and so on and so forth. So we want to use that limited or restricted space for the parade of the bands. And we believe we can create a bubble there. And we'll use that route for Monday night mass as well. And we see an erected stage in Tantin playing field for the displaying of each section. We still have to cross the stage. And you can have, after you cross the stage and so on, you Tantin, you always pray that the weather is good. Because we know it can get slushy if plenty rainfall. But we believe after 2 years, mud don't make a difference to us when we play in mass. Now it's extremely important that we highlight to private promoters. Now we're encouraging fetes. But we say the protocol established for SMC is the same protocol for private fetes. SMC want no unfair advantage, but we also believe that private promoters must have no unfair advantage. Yes? So the protocol would be you apply to the SMC for your license and so on, and we have to work with the police and the Ministry of Health in the COVID environment to get your license and so on. So open season for private promoters, you can do your events, but we say the protocol established for the SMC events is the same protocol established for your events. Okay, and the reality is that this year, the private promoters may want to look at the expenditure. You may not be able to bring the biggest of the biggest acts if you can't afford, with regards to maybe the little limitation on the amount of persons a venue can carry. But we believe we can do it nice. And once we get the cooperation of the private promoters, we believe we can do so successfully. But the takeaway is that we have the same policy across the board for SMC events and private promoters. So we said the approvals will come from the Health, Ministry of Health. Everything we do, we check with the Ministry of Health and the security personnel at the Royal Grenada Police Force, and they will give us guidance with regards to the numbers and the protocols that they establish. Now, I want to appreciate every time we talk about carnival and Spicemas and we talk about bubble and so on, people laugh at me and say, well, what you going to do with the Juve? The Juve is our biggest headache, admittedly. It provides us with the greatest challenge because we know that 2 years we had no carnival and yet you are Juve, or at least you are Jab Jab, or what resembles to be black, spontaneously all over the country. So this year, what we have decided to do, we'll work with parish committees to have Juve in designated areas in each parish so as to avoid everyone coming to one central area. That, we believe, minimizes the risk. It's not foolproof. And I say to people all the time, you cannot ask Jab Jab for the vaccination card and no Jab Jab doing rapid tests. That's just the practical reality of it. The other countries like St. Kitts and so on were able to do Juve in a bubble. Grenada is a different reality. You're not, or we don't think it's possible to do Juve in a bubble and put Jab Jab in a bubble. But if you say carnival, you go have Jab Jab. Because even when you say no carnival, you have Jab Jab. So that's just the practical reality of it. So this is what we're working with this year. Everybody stay in your section. Your section is your parish. For St. Andrew's Paul's Air Strip, they gave us that idea last year. They enjoyed it. We say you can do it a second year. No quarrels. St. Patrick, Sates, have it. We say the bus terminus area, Coconut Row, Breakwater area. That bottom end of Sutter's there, you can play all the jab you want. If you want to go venture onto Main Street, we say no trucks allowed, only footpath. And I've expressed, and I can do so openly at this forum, that even out of Carnival and so on, one must appreciate the two little hills coming down Main Street. And every year, if you are observant, you'll notice that the Juve is evolving. Bigger trucks, bigger sound systems. It's not, when I growing up, it's jab beating bucket and beating drum and chanting. It's bigger sound systems. And I believe it poses a serious security threat for the trucks on the hills with the grease and the old oil and so on. I mean, when I was minister responsible for Carnival, persons touted that let's bring it back in the town, Market Hill, lovely, and so on. It provided a good spectacle for Podgy and them when they were young. However, we had a run. We asked some of the guys with the big trucks and the trailer trucks to drive through St. George's in the dead of night, of course with police permission, to come up from the carnage and to come up by courts. And after one run, them fellas said, I'm making sense, the trailer trucks cannot even turn. So that we have to appreciate these new realities, you know, and sometimes we have to make decisions, and it's a given. We've never had no major accident in Sutter's, for instance. But what do we do? Do we wait until we have one to tell us, well, something can happen, God forbid? So we believe that a good test run of the jab in that bottom part of the tongue of Sutter's provides more than enough space for Sutter's Juve. St. Mark, we say Diamond Street up to the roundabout, and St. David Street and so. Right? So they will use the inside part of Victoria. So away from the main road. And you will notice that all of the different areas that we have identified for the parish Juves, we try our very best to minimize on the interruptions of traffic. Yes, so that alternative routes can be used by road users and so on. So we are working along with the RGPF again to ensure that, you know, people can egress and ingress on different areas. St. John, Upper Depredin Street and parts of Lower Depredin Street. People generally know their route. Don't worry about that. St. George's, we'll use the Tantin Ring Road. The same road that we identify for the Monday night Mass and the Fancy Mass, we'll use that same route for St. George's. St. David, Malmont, Big Yard, and past here. We had a good meeting with St. David last week. There is a possible alternative route suggestion. We may revisit it as well. We will revisit. We have enough time to revisit it. And but St. David, as of now, Malmont, Big Yard, and Pasture provides a very good alternative. And the idea is that everybody don't have to converge in the tongue of St. George. And also we work with the parish committee. We think it is significant. We think it is extremely important that if we are doing the Juve on a parish basis this year, we believe it's a fair request to say to the parishes, namely St. Patrick and St. David in particular, and St. John to a smaller extent, that we will not sanction Juve on Carnival Tuesday. We believe we have enough jump up on Carnival Monday that we can at least respect the request of no Carnival on Tuesday. Because, as we say, we're still in the pandemic. And I will get down and I'll get to that. So, going forward for Carnival 2022, we say Juve only on Monday. No Juve on Carnival Tuesday, because already we are designing the Juve this year on a parish basis. So we are looking for the support and the cooperation of Juve people. Monday night, Mass. As I said, we have been working hard for the last couple of months. And some persons might have received phone calls. They don't know the purpose of the calls, but we're doing sort of unofficial surveys. And we get the sense that the Monday night mass kits, with the corporate companies running it, if we're enforcing the vaccination policy, the risk of them not receiving and meeting their expenses is kind of great. So it may be quite a bit to ask them to do the Monday night mass bans as they would normally do in normal circumstances. But we have a creative idea. We believe we can use that opportunity to do a steel band parade. All of the major steel bands, they will give us their section, we will judge them. So, and they will then, we'll have a steel band parade. Whether it's 40, 50 players with their steel band T-shirts and what have you, they will lead off the parades. And the GMBA again has come to our rescue to say, listen, we can do the Monday night mass through the bands as well. That way they have control, they know who their members are and so on. They can use their infrastructure in their bands to register vaccinated persons to create the bubble for Monday night mass. Monday night mass is definitely a strength of Grenada Carnival. I would admit that when it now came around and so on, I was not a fan. I'm generally a traditionalist when it comes to Carnival. But so when they started this T-shirt thing, I'm like, what, boy? But it has grown, and it is probably one of the events that we have that really and truly no other carnival in the region has. And I have heard and I know of the envy of Monday night mass. So we strategically thinking, we do not want to leave Monday night, as I say to my director, I don't want to leave it naked. You don't want to have it and nothing is happening. So I believe with the steel band parade and the GMBA initiative, we can have an evening of splendor. We probably will start it earlier, Chris, and look to end it early, but we'll have a Monday night mass taking some form and some shape. I have some good news too. The process of subventions is ready. In other words, for the Mass Bands Association, the traditional and fancy mass bands, the Calypso tents, Pan Association, members, parish committees, we are ready to pay subvention. In other words, you now need to trigger the process, make the relevant application and do what they usually do with regards to procedure so that you can access your subvention. So nobody cannot complain this year that they get subvention late. You can get subvention by the end of March. My time in Carnival and so on, June, July, you're fighting up with that, which is always a setback. And going forward, we hope we can continue to deliver once we give in subventions to do so early. So this year, this is something that we are embarking on to ensure that all stakeholders of Carnival do have some sort of a revenue to start, especially knowing for a fact that for 2 years you had no money. So generally, some, the stakeholders and so on, there is no resources, or very little resources, because of 2 years they have had very little economic activity. So we believe it is extremely important, if we are to have a successful carnival, we need to at least release funds to them early. I have said in particular to the parish committees and so on, you need to submit your plan, your proposal to access your subvention. Your plan must be approved and so on. So it's a special call for the parish committees to have meetings and to be functional and to design what you need to do for Carnival. So subventions will not be a blank check. We have to show responsibility with public funds. That's the message. Now I'll go to another section of what I refer to as structural transformative changes for Carnival. These are changes that are not COVID inspired. These are changes that we will recommend whether it's COVID or no COVID. And we will begin by saying that we have spoken to we would like to have one Calypso Association. We believe that they are having discussions with regards to merging the two Calypso associations, which would be wonderful, because we believe that the interests of Calypsonians cannot differ so much that you have more than one Calypso association. We believe that they are narrowing their differences, and hopefully we can have an announcement. But this year going forward, we'll have 5 Calypso tents. The Calypso tents can roster their performers on a nightly basis. For the last couple of years before the pandemic, we've had calypso tents with 7 and 8 and 9. And whatever the standard was, you had calypso tents, maybe 12 or 10 calypsonians, what have you. And in some instances, you get half a song, one song, no song properly written. In venues, you have a chair to sit down on and all sorts of things. We need to set the standard. Right? So we know that Northwest Brigade is a long functioning and successful tent on the West Coast. They hold a nice catchment of calypsonians on the West Coast and the River Road area. Successful tent. St. David, Lady Cheryl and so on, they always run a good tent. Then the guys up in St. Andrews, Scholar and so on, guys so bad, they run 2 tents with 35 calypsonians for the past couple of years. Let's run with that. And for the very first time, we'll have a tent in Carriacou. The SMC and Carnival, we cannot go forward if we do not look to find creative ways to encourage Carriacou in everything that we do. I have argued, and I will say, that Carriacou is arguably our greatest depository of culture. And as such, we have to engage. So this year, we'll have a calypso tent out of Carriacou. The judges will go to Carriacou and judge them. The idea is that every night, when the calypso tents are on, one calypso tent will be on per night. And we'll have the pay-per-view stream. So when the calypso tent is on, we can stay in Grenada and enjoy the calypsos coming from Carriacou, using the technology. If you want to take the Osprey tour and go to Carriacou for the night of tent, all the better. So that is, we believe, is an initiative we are prepared to invest in. All tents we see will have in-person and pay-per-view audiences. I spoke about that earlier with regards to the initiative to have the calypso tent streamed. And we'd have to go far. If you follow Trinidad Carnival and WAC FM and so on, you'll see how they did it. So we pig in on their experiences. And we say that all revenue generated will go into a pot to be shared amongst calypsonians. In other words, SMC is not looking for revenue for these activities. If you know anything about calypso and calypso competitions, it's generally the guys who make the semifinals and the finals that make any money from Carnival. The majority of calypsonians, once they do not have a good season, do not receive any sort of compensation. And we believe the revenue generated by the pay-per-view stream, the in-audience stream, we'll put it in a pot, give the calypso associations, and they will decide how they divide up. And I will recommend to them that they start by giving the persons who did not make semifinals and finals, so that these calypsonians can feel empowered too, and that they have a season. So we're looking at some revenue generation for the calypsonians this year. We are encouraging extempo and soca artists in the tents. Extempo is a dying art. We need to give it some attention. We're not in a position maybe this year to do an extempo competition, which we want to revisit in years to come, but we don't know if there are still extempo guys around. So we want to use the calypso tents this year as a sort of fielding ground to see whether or not we are still extemporaneans around the place. So we want to do that. And we also strongly recommend that especially the young soca artists and so on, they perform in the calypso tents. It affords them an excellent opportunity to learn to sing with a band and to perform. You know, the message is that it's not just going on the back of a truck with a song system and say you're an artist or you're a singer. It's an excellent opportunity for the young soca artists in particular to get mentorship and to hone their skills in the calypso tents. And that's a strong recommendation coming from SMC. We can't force nobody, of course, but somebody might take the advice and go into a calypso tent. This year, Queen Show will be held on the 27th of July. We're moving Queen Show about 2 weeks before the final week. And you say, why move Queen Show? Well, if you study Carnival, from the same Kitnos study that I shared with you earlier on, it shows that, like, for 6 weeks, persons are coming to Grenada for Carnival. And basically what we had is that we jam everything in one weekend and just open field. Yes, the private promoters coming, but we can't just expect the private promoters to do a show or event every night. And not every event is of a quality that persons want to go to. We believe, let us test out the Queen Show early and see what it brings forth. So you can come Grenada early for Queen Show. Also, too, we'll have the opportunity so that the Queen can reign for at least 2 weeks during the Carnival season, crown the champions of Groovy and so on, Groovy and Power and so on and so forth. We can actually give the Queen some work to do. And she does not reign when there is nothing. So it's a thought, let's see how it works. But we are willing to experiment on that and to bring the Queen Show sometime before. Let's see how it works. We are prepared to change, we're flexible, but something tells me that will work. This year, we're moving the Calypso finals, taking it out of the Sunday night. We're bringing it on the Thursday, the 4th. We're taking Quincho night and put Calypso there. And the other thing we're doing, we're changing the venue too. We're going Grenville. We're going Big Parish. Why? Because over the years we've seen the dwindling of the audiences. People not going to the Calypso shows again on a Sunday night. The Soca Monarch has held sway, is the biggest audience and so on, and I suspect persons, the young people now, not into Kaiso the way I was when I was growing up. So we believe that we needed to tinker with that somewhat and to see what it will do. So we're going the Thursday and do the Calypso finals. And we're moving out of St. George's and going Grenville. Why? Because we believe St. Andrews, St. Patrick's, and Upper St. David's catchment, Latant, and so on, have a strong Kaiso population. And let's go to them. They never complain how Tongue was far, and St. George's was far, and the stadium was far when all these years we have in Kaiso finals in Tongue. So we bring it closer to them. So I hope that the people in St. George's and so on don't complain that Grenville too far. They ain't going there. It's one country, a little place. But we want to catch the catchment. We want to get the Calypso catch. So semifinals have a really good audience. Semifinals is good. So what happened with finals? So we making a bold change this year and move the Calypso finals on the 4th, August the 4th, on the Thursday. So the major events, we want to brand the Queen Show Majestic Wednesday, July 27th, that's Carnival Queen Show night. Terrific Thursday, Thursday 4th, Calypso finals. Bacchanal Friday, August 5th, Soca and Groovy Monarch finals. Fantastic Saturday Ultra, August 6th. We're going to Panorama in the stadium in the night, but with add-ons. Stay tuned. We're coming hard, we're coming strong in the fight for Pan. And Fantastic Saturday, no holds barred. I hear people singing Afrobeats already. SMC going hard and making sure we can deliver strong for Fantastic Saturday. So we call it Fantastic Saturday Ultra, August 6th. And the new initiative too, we'll have combo tickets will be on sale. In other words, you can get a Soca Monarch ticket. You could buy season tickets for all the major shows at a bargain price. You could buy your single tickets, of course, but we're giving you the option of buying the 3 tickets at one time, by the Calypso, by the Pan. Encourage people not to go to the bigger shows. Everybody wants to go Soca Monarch all year. You could pay a little less and go to the Calypso finals and so. So we'll be introducing the whole concept of combo tickets for major shows. You ask what we will do for Carnival Sunday. We believe this is what we can do in a real successful way, in a serious way. Sunday, that traditional we call the Mashkra, we will convert it into what we call Canbule Sunday. You know the history of Canbule? Canbule patois, meaning cane burning. In Grenada, on Carnival Sunday, all across the country, you have food cooking and drab preparation. All down. Pea soup. Pea soup is really the gravy of the Canbule. Because remember, breadfruit had season. Breadfruit have no season no more. You're making bread all long year round. But it was pea soup. So, we want to bring that aspect of Grenadian culture to the national stage. The spontaneous cooking on the block, pea soup cooking, oil down cooking, brown down cooking, jab cooking figure and saltfish, whatever the dishes are. Jab preparation, man painting the horn, cleaning the gear to play jab. So what we want to do, we want to register what we call Canbule centers around the island through the parish committees. Yes? You can register. At no charge, it's free. We just want to be able to know where to find you to judge you. Because we're going to run a competition sponsored by the GTA. So each Petra. Each Cambule corner will be judged by the variety of Grenada dishes. We want to have dishes, local, not chicken and fries, please. We want local, authentic Grenadian cooking and Grenadian cooking on wood, and so on. And we say community and carnival spirit. So community, people come together, eating, drinking. Everybody knows what we're speaking about. It's just that for this year, and years going forward, hopefully, we can capture that and bottle that and put that on the national stage. And we'll have prize for first, second, and third place. I am contemplating, I believe I will make the chief judge. Richard, I believe me and you will have to be, you'll have to judge that, and Petra, 3 of us. Now, we believe, and I speak of the Grenada Tourism Authority, this aspect of our carnival, I believe, affords our visitors a tremendous Grenadian experience. I mean, it's easy to come on the show and see artists performing and so on, but this is an area where we want to work with the GTA and the hotels and so on. They can actually go out and do tours and mingle with the local communities. Eat the food from the pot, from the jab. See how the jabs prepare their gear. They practice their chants. We believe it affords us an excellent opportunity for a real, true Grenadian experience. We want to work with the GTA too. On that same Sunday, to maybe use the market square to create a craft center so that the persons who are making the crafts can set up in one particular place again, all part of the Grenadian experience. And this is not far-fetched. Those persons here who go to crop over, you know you can go on the highway, Spring Garden Highway at the end there during the crop over season, and yet Bajan craft, Bajan painting, Bajan food, and so on. So we want to set up so that not just the carnival practitioners of mass band and calypso, we believe it affords us an excellent opportunity for people in craft, fine arts, and so on to piggyback on the tremendous economic opportunity that carnival provides. So this Cambule Sunday, we are extremely excited about it in terms of providing a true Grenadian experience for visitors, returning nationals and locals alike, and put that on the national stage. More than that, we want to do pop-up entertainment trucks. That again is COVID inspired, but in the same way that we can use, whereby we can have throughout the day, visiting the registered Cambule centers, we can have small steel bands going to do entertainment, calypsonians and soca artists and trucks from Grenville to St. Patrick's to St. John's, and going on meeting the Cambule centers and playing pan for 10, 15 minutes and singing a 2 song and so on. We can create a dynamic Grenadian experience and sell Grenada to the world. Nobody ever have that. Nobody can even think about that. That's a Grenadian thing. Yeah, because it's a natural thing. That's how Grenada, for the last couple of years, since you observe the dwindling of the crowds for the March Gras, just go through all the communities, you'll see what it's like. And I suspect that provides a bit of hesitation for persons to leave food cooking and so on, and rum drinking and say they go and watch Calypso. In a real sense. So we want to piggy on that, and we believe this is a feather in the cap. And we will push hard with the GTA to make sure that we can deliver a successful Cambule Sunday. I touched a little bit on the jab, but we're going to put some emphasis on jab. We had to say to persons getting black, jab is not just getting black. I want jab with chants, jab who could read, jab who could beat drums. So we'll give the best traditional jab prize. But in the coming weeks and months, we are looking to host seminars or workshops with all traditional jab guys who can pass on the knowledge and the information to the new pretenders. So that is something we really want to focus and zero in on. Parade of the bands, On Tuesday, we start at 10 a.m. That is not a COVID-inspired change. We cannot ask persons to pay $2 and $3 and $5 and $1,000 for a costume and tell them come and jump from 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't make sense. And this year we have a restricted route. But come next year or come later this year, if they say no COVID, you better go in the gym all now. Because you want people who pay their money for their costumes to enjoy the experience. To enjoy the experience. And as such, we have to critically look at the Tuesday Juve going forward. You say this year we want it, no, but we don't want to cut off the Tuesday Juve, of course. It's one carnival, 2 Juve is a nice selling point as well. But on a Tuesday, jab had to know you can't play jab whole day. We must cut out space for fancy mass. Carnival is not one aspect. We must create space, we must cushion a period of time for the splendor of the costumes. And this year, God's willing, we want the costume parade to start at 10. I know in other countries they start at 6 a.m., 8 a.m. in a serious way. We have to look at that. But we want to start the parade of the bands very early in the morning so persons can get tired. Yeah, get tired, please. So I've said to you what we're doing. Plan B. We're planning for carnival in the pandemic, as I've said throughout my presentation. But we're ready for plan B. In other words, we continue to monitor. What is plan B, you may ask? You ready for plan B? We continue to monitor the COVID situation with the Ministry of Health. And if the situation continues to improve and there is no real risk or threat from a COVID surge, we will go back to Cabinet and seek permission to remove all the restrictions. In other words, I said earlier that we don't know how fluid the COVID is. And I am not going to get stuck, we are not going to get stuck in planning in March, January, February, March, and deliver a carnival that is consistent with the situation in January, February, March, and if the situation changes in July and August, we still play in mass as if we're in March. So we have to be flexible. We have to be able to say to government, and again with the guidance of the Ministry of Health, that if it is, that there is no real risk, because we are observing the removal of different protocols, bit by bit. We want to look, carriacou had the activity, we're looking to see what are the fallouts of carriacou activity. Easter is coming up, persons may go to the beaches and so on. We want to monitor to see what are the fallouts of these activities. And if it is that things looking good, before the end of April, I will go to the Cabinet and say to the Cabinet, could you advise us as to whether or not we can start fancy mass in Granadas? So that is the thinking. The thinking is that's our plan B. In other words, if there is no real threat of the COVID and so on, we don't need to have the parish juvies as we envisage it now. We can have juvies as normal. But we're not there yet. And that is why I ask for the cooperation and I ask for the support of the carnival practitioners and for the general public. We must be sensible in what we do. We know where we came from. We know where it was last year. We know everybody here knows someone who had COVID bad or who died from COVID or who was hospitalized and so on. So we cannot be reckless, so to speak, going forward. We have to be sensible in what we do. And that is what SMC is asking of us. Let us be sensible going forward in terms of how we play the mass and how we go forward. So we have a plan A. The plan A is really the plan for carnival in the pandemic. And the plan B is Spicemas not in the pandemic. We thank you so much. Spicemas, the return, is celebration of life. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I believe that the producer has something to share with our lovely audience.
Deeply rooted in our rich ancestral traditions. deeply rooted in our rich ancestral traditions. Spicemas, the return, a celebration of life.
Welcome to Spicemas 2022. Reviving the spirit of our ancestors through our traditional mass. Jab, the unique celebration of freedom, drenched in black. Feel the power. The rejuvenating sound of pan. A display of colors in fancy mass. And the rebirth of calypso and soca music.
The biggest and safest summer festival in the region, August 8th and 9th. Let's go to Grenada for Spicemas. Call your booking agents and get your tickets today.
It is here. I hope everybody not in shock after such a presentation. Been trying to follow the comments on the social media platforms. Now we open up the floor for questions from the media.
All right, so Beverly Telesford from GBN. My question is just for some clarity. That is one section per mass band?
Director Edwards will answer all questions with regards to mass bands and Tuesday paraded.
So that is why I'm sitting here. Yes, so Chris Edwards representing mass. Okay, so we have to, as our chair says, we have to think in terms of a COVID mass. And so in meeting with the bands, they all realized that it'd be late to prepare a full band with 7 or 8 sections or whatever. So we say that if we're going to have carnival, you cannot have a carnival, no matter what kind of carnival, without mass. We need to have a component of mass. St. Kitts had carnival, they did not have mass. We didn't see it as a carnival. So how do we do a carnival in a bubble? The idea is to come up with a theme. We call it Grenadiana, a celebration of our culture. So each band would then produce something Grenadian. This could then be used as a nice tourism beat for Grenada. So when the commentator is talking about whatever Helen Marie is producing, let's say Granatown, we get a good exposure, the MC or the commentator is talking about Granatown, or whatever aspect of Grenada. So even the non-competing bands who may have started producing sections for 2020, we say to them, you can still use your costume. Do not tell you not to use them. But just be a mass, band leader and be creative like we do with our colors and our words and just change it to something Grenadian. So that we have one fluid theme, but we're not telling them they can't have their truck, they can't have their music, they can't have their drink truck. They can cater for their people. If the people want to be a big costume, it's entirely up to them. But we want to stick with the one theme because it's more of a showcase of mass than per se a competition. Hope that answers.
Just to add, allow me to stick in here that in some aspects of the Fancy Mass parade this year, we're going to pay tribute and homage to some fallen comrades, masqueraders. Peter Bain. Going to show our love and respect to Peter. Dorothy Patterson, early trailblazer of the mass. And for young persons who may not know Dorothy and know of her work, we believe it's an excellent opportunity to showcase Dorothy Patterson. Devon Francic, who to last year sat on the SMC board and who was giving yeoman service to fancy mass, queen show, modeling, all kind of thing, and so on. We want to pay homage and respect to him. And just today, I believe we laid to rest one of our traditional VECO leaders in Guelph, Lyndon Dakota. So we want to pay homage to them in the parade in some aspects. So we're working on that, along with the GMBA, to ensure that going forward, it's extremely important that we remember the persons who have contributed significantly to our carnival and to our culture.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have 3 questions, so you can take it in any order. You mentioned earlier that activities will happen in a bubble, meaning calypso, soca, etc. So for the benefit of those who may not understand the term, could you explain further? Also, regarding tickets, when will we see tickets going on sale? And my final question, I might get in trouble for this one, but you mentioned the same protocol established for SMC applies to private promoters. I take that to mean vaccinated only persons will be allowed into venues, etc. Now the question is, how do you enforce these policies or check to ensure that promoters are adhering to these policies? And the reason I'm asking, because for the past couple of weeks we've seen activities in the countryside where you would ask for your vaccinated card, you entered a venue, you had fun, and you left. So there seems to be this notion that there's different rules that apply to country events and town events. So how do we provide that balance and ensure that everybody remains safe at the end of the day?
I'll take the last one first. All private promoters will have to contract the services of police officers and health officials. Yes? For the enforcement of the vaccination policy. They must, as a requirement, contract police officers and health officials. Now, we are aware with regards to activities that are happening now, whether it's in country and town, but SMC has absolutely nothing to do with that. And we cannot and we will not take the responsibility for what private promoters are having now is totally out of SMC's jurisdiction. But once we have the jurisdiction, we will enforce the policy of the COVID protocols, and private promoters will have to hire police officers, their own bill, police officers and health officials to monitor and to enforce the vaccinations protocol. Right. That's a good question. I expect it to come. We have proposed a date for the launch of Carnival. You'll notice that that's the lowest absence in the midst. But what transpired is that the proposed date for the launch is also clashing with another significant national date event, basically. So by the end of this week, we'll agree on the launch date and we'll make it available. We have already settled on it, as I said. But by the time we check venue and so on, there is another national event carded for that. We did not want to use a second venue, basically, because in everything that we do, we want to ensure that there is quality, good quality. So we are back to the drawing boards with regards to the launch of Spicemas as we know it. So I would suspect we have a board meeting on the 16th or thereabouts. So sometime after that, we are going to settle on a firm launch date. Now, you would appreciate that with the SMC, with the law, with the SMC Act, the jurisdiction of the SMC kicks in after the launch, basically. So that is when that is our period after the launch. But we will announce to the nation in short order as to when will be the official launch of Spicemas.
Right.
Chris will speak on the bubble.
I'm going to take the bubble part.
Which part?
No, the part of, in terms of how do you ensure that these protocols are followed, even though they have had to apply to the SMC for permission?
Yes, because as I said, what I meant when I said that they would have to enforce police officers at the venues, private promoters have to hire police officers at their venues and health officials who will enforce the vaccination policy. Yeah. With regards to the tickets, how soon tickets? Mr. CEO, you want to take that one before Chris comes in on the...
I think as soon as we finish with our last board meeting, we would make a decision on the price for the different shows and when we would send out our tickets and the different venues.
Timeline, end of the month?
Yeah, well, yeah, the meeting's on the 16th, so by the end of the month. So tickets can go on sale from the 1st of April. Not a time full, though.
Before we continue, I believe we have questions also on the Zoom platform. So we invite the person now to do so. Please identify yourself.
Hello, good afternoon. Could you hear me?
Right. So bubble is just a nice word to say it's a sanitized area. So basically everybody who's allowed in must be vaccinated, and including, in case of the parade of the bands, including the spectators. So all the players, truck drivers, everybody needs to be vaccinated. So when we say we have it in the bubble for the Calypso shows, all the Calypsonians, all the backup people, everybody needs to be vaccinated. So that is basically when we say a bubble, that's what we mean we're holding it in a bubble. So there's only people who are allowed to be in or people who are vaccinated.
Hello?
We invite the question now on the Zoom platform. Please identify yourself and proceed with your question.
You hear me now? I just wanted to know.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so my name is Kevin Frederick. I'm one of the freelancers. I have a question for Mr. Gill. Two brief questions, but let me just outline it. So for the past 2 years, promoters, and I'm putting promoters in inverted commas here, were unable to stage events. Some of the business was on the verge. Now, as Mr. Gill presented earlier, and in light of what he had said, he said it's open season for promoters and there should be protocols. Aruna just alluded to some of the protocols. But I would like to know from Senator Gill, as he said too, that there should be one Calypso association. Mr. Gill, do you think the time has come for there to be formal registration of promoters, establish dates for events to avoid clashes, which you alluded to earlier, and so that promoters can also better access government concessions, as you said to the subventions will be made available come sometimes closer to the end of March or so, because, and I'm asking this question because I know we have always been ducking that question. And more so too, because you would find the VAT officials would go to the more established promoters like the Wagiti and the Judah and so on. And the others who are just doing it, by the degree side, they somewhat get away with murder. So this is the essence of what I'm asking. And can we see the return of an established calendar of events? Again, so as to avoid the clashing of events. You said yourself, there's no point in denying visitors the opportunity who want to fete almost every night. And that's the thinking behind the moving of the Queen Show, for example. So that would just be my two questions for now.
Yes, I think that's a good question, but it's a question that goes beyond the SMC in the sense that we in Grenada need to look at the whole entertainment industry. It's a broader question of the entertainment and the creative industry, and the registering of promoters and so on. So it's a much wider question, Kevin, with regards to these issues, and I suspect that we need to address these issues nationally as to how we regulate, how we organize the entertainment and the creative sector in Grenada. I can say to you though that there is nothing on the agenda for subvention for private promoters anytime soon. Right, that wouldn't happen. And yes, SMC will have a calendar of events, and in the past, what we've tried to do is to ensure that private promoters can send in their dates and the events to SMC, and we can have a national calendar. And I suspect during the course of from here on in, we'll be able to do that. But having regards to the fact that we had no carnival for the past 2 years, and we're trying to make a start, you could appreciate that we're not in a position where we can do a full calendar as of now. But that certainly we will put the SMC calendar will be out. I believe that I was just advised that persons are asking about Children Carnival Frolic. Yes, we'll have Children Carnival Frolic as per normal, sorry. Children Carnival Frolic will be in a bubble. We do have in Grenada right now vaccination for persons, for children 12 years and older. So that's the national protocol. As I said, we follow the national protocol. But what we are going to do, I can say to you that the Children Carnival Frolic is one area, one show where we will have free rapid testing for every parent accompanying the child. And we want to make the National Carnival Frolic this year a fun event for the kids. Because not only old people or elders or adults want to excel, the children need to excel as well. So we want to make it a fun event. We will have the pan element, the steel band element, or the panorama. We will have the calypso element with regards to the Kiddies Carnival. But more than that, we want to make it a fun event. Bouncing, castles, face painting, you name it. And so, yeah, it's firmly on the agenda, Children Carnival Frolic. We'll encourage parents to make use of the vaccination for children 12 years and older, and we'll provide free rapid tests for every parent accompanying who's, to accompany the kids from the Children Carnival Frolic. So that is on our agenda formally.
Any other questions?
Okay, I have 2 more questions from someone. It's in relation to venues. Someone is asking, can venues apply for the permissions to produce events in general on behalf of private promoters? So in other words, a venue A will have multiple private promoters, so they will apply for permission over a period. And the next question is there a limit on the numbers for Fancy Mass and the Monday Night Mass, and will DJ music be allowed for Monday night? Because someone said they heard Pan mentioned, so it's just some clarification.
Okay, so I'll take the question on the venue. Yes, venue owners or venue management can apply for permission on behalf of promoters. So you have an establishment and someone is coming to you to use your establishment, you can apply for the permission.
Right. And I expected that question regarding numbers. Now, last Saturday, we met, myself as director and an executive member from the Mass Band Association with the non-competing bands to basically propose to put on the table what we just outlined today. And one of the things that we took away was that they were very enthusiastic and very motivated as to the numbers that they see as a possibility of coming to Grenada for this year's Mass. Now, we didn't see that based on our research, based on the supply chain that out of China and also out of New York, where people do a lot of shopping. A lot of those stores are still closed. So we didn't see people who are talking about having 700 and 800 persons in the band as a reality. So now that they brought that to the forefront, we have discussed it as a board, but we will bring it up to see, one, if the bubble remains the route, then we may need to cap. If the route changes, then we can say whatever. But as we told them in our presentation to them, we can't predict what's going to happen in a few months. It's up to them if they want to take the risk and invest for 800 persons, that's on them, because we can't tell them that. But what we're saying is in a bubble, but if they're saying that they come with 5 and 6 and how much 100 people, then we will have to either look at having a cap to say that you only allow, all bands only allow X, Y, Z amount of persons. So we need to get from them, which we did from them, as to how much they think they will have. We know based on the Mass Band Association what their numbers are, so we were not worried. But now that we're getting that kind of feedback, we will have to look at, if it remains the same route, then we may have to look at a cap. So for now, there's no specific number.
Do we have any more questions on the Zoom platform? If we don't, then I guess that is it for the question and answer segment. So now the thank you, the vote of thanks. So on this note, I have the opportunity to say thank you to everyone. We are very, very grateful for affording us the opportunity, or at least joining us, so that we can share the proposed plan for Spicemas in a pandemic year, because we know that we are still within the pandemic. But as Ambassador Gill said, there's plan A and there's plan B. If we do what we should do and we remain responsible, then I guess plan B can be announced later on in the year. But as is now, we work with plan A. Thank you to our team here from TNR Communication. I want to start with you, as today we are here doing a virtual presentation for Spicemas, and you have been working together with the GIS team to ensure that this happened, and we are very, very grateful. Our sponsors, I know Mr. Gill spoke to our sponsors, and I want to continue to say thank you. This is not a relationship that the 2 years, I know we all missed it, and you have been on board with us for years. The GTA, Ms. Roach, I missed you in the starting, but I know you won't hold me to heart on this one. But thank you for your continued support. As you said, you never say no, it's always a yes. And we know that Chairman Gill is always putting you to the challenge. Caribbean, always around with us. Netherlands Insurance, Mr. Strawn. Glenegg, Springwater, Power FM, Huggins, Clark, Scott. The Grenada Cultural Foundation, IMG. The media again, to various media outfits here. I see WeFM, I see GBN, and the others I'm sure are following online. So we say thank you to all of you for being here today with us. The team at the office. We cannot see, short of thank yous to our secretariat team, as they always ensure that these things happen. All the hard work, Mr. Jacob and his team. The directors, Director Edwards, I know I did not mention you either in the starting, but I don't think you'd hold me to heart on that one, but our mass representative and the rest of the board, though they are not here today. It is taking some very long nights, extraordinary meetings, a lot more meetings than we would normally do to ensure that it comes off. Stakeholders, all represented, Mass Pan, Calypso, our major stakeholders, our promoters, we say thank you. I know it was an announcement that we have all been waiting for. It's here now, so let's plan accordingly. But I encourage all to get vaccinated in order for us to be able to do this and give ourselves the best chance, not hoping that plan B will eventually happen. Let's all play our part in ensuring that Spicemas happen as we are accustomed to it, but we also have our part to play in this. Get vaccinated. If you're still unsure, look for information. Ask credible source. The Ministry of Health is always there to help. Your doctors can help you. Please don't be guided by the misinformation on the media, social media or so. be guided by make an informed decision, get vaccinated so that we can give ourselves the best chance to do this. So I say thank you to all again for attending. On your way out, if you wish, you can take pictures on the, beautifully decorated, represent a true representation of Mass here as we launch Spicemas today. And on your way out, you can indulge in some refreshments as we have at the back. So thank you again to everyone, and we are moving into Spicemas 2022.
Deeply rooted in our rich ancestral traditions. Spicemas, the return, a celebration of life.
Welcome to Spicemas 2022. Reviving the spirit of our ancestors through our traditional mass. Jab, the unique celebration of freedom, drenched in black. Feel the power. The rejuvenating sound of pan. A display of colors in fancy mass. And the rebirth of calypso and soca music.
The biggest and safest summer festival in the region, August 8th and 9th. Let's go to Grenada for Spicemas. Call your booking agents and get your tickets today. Deeply rooted in our rich ancestral traditions. Spicemas, the return, a celebration of life.
Welcome to Spicemas 2022. Reviving the spirit of our ancestors through our traditional mass. Jab, the unique celebration of freedom, drenched in black. Feel the power. The rejuvenating sound of pan. A display of colors in fancy mass. And the rebirth of calypso and soca music.
The biggest and safest summer festival in the region, August 8th and 9th. Let's go to Grenada for Spicemas. Call your booking agents and get your tickets today.